What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers, and break down some news that came out for the markets, what's going on with the economic calendar, what you should be watching for as time progresses. Before I begin the devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks. This is all, for instance, just a couple of weeks. Anyways, now let's break down what's going on with the market. Looking at SPY, we saw this thing drop quite a bit after the data came out. It's attempting to bounce right now, but it's still looking kind of weak overall as SPY is downtrending. The data has come out, and we're basically seeing 216,000 non-farm payrolls, so it's higher than expected. And besides that, the unemployment rate is actually below expectations at 3.7%. Now, with the low unemployment rate, as the job sector is still looking strong, this is a little bit worrisome for the markets because sometimes these strong numbers do pose a risk to higher inflation. And this is what the market could be thinking. This is part of why the market kind of sold off a bit when this data came out. But that's not a guarantee just yet. We'll just have to see how the market reacts. For now, it is still a little bit down as a result of this data. Now, I just want to remind you all of another big moment when more data is coming out. At 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, there's more data. We have the ISM services, factory orders, ISM services employment, new orders, and new prices all coming out. Watch for volatility 30 minutes after market open, and we'll see what happens with the ISM services new orders. That's going to be a very significant piece of data. Now, when it comes to the market, there's some news coming right over here. The winning streaks are in jeopardy, at least for the weeklies, as the market is down quite a bit, and we're likely going to get a red week most likely. S&P 500 is already down 1.7% for the week. Dow Jones is down 0.7%. Nasdaq's down 3%. We may not make the full recovery today, so we're likely going to get a red week. On top of all of this, the non-farm payrolls report is once again going to help them understand how things are looking right now for the markets. With this basically going on, we're not really seeing as massive contractions in the labor market is what we're basically anticipating. The labor market is still basically very strong, and this, in essence, is basically, at least how the data is being reported. It's not really incentivizing the Fed to cut quickly quite yet. We just have to wait and see how things look. Market is dropping as a result. There's more things going on the Red Sea, which is not too good. On top of this, there's more things going on right here. The NCAA and ESPN reached an 8-year, $920 million media rights deal, under which the Disney-owned network will broadcast 40 championships, including football and women's basketball. So that's some new news that came out. And besides that, Peloton is getting more social. Shares of the fitness company spiked after it announced a partnership with TikTok. Good news for them. So that's it for the main headlines affecting the markets. I also want to call out to one more thing that's very important. For Tesla, there's this news coming out that Tesla has to fix 1.62 million vehicles. Some articles are saying we have a recall of 1.6 million EVs in China for Tesla. This is just what the headlines are saying, but Tesla's going to fix it with an over-the-air software update. So it's not a typical recall. It's just that the media is painting it that way, and that's like very negative for Tesla. So just be careful with Tesla. That's some bad news technically. Now, looking at SPY, I just want to mention that overall the technicals look bearish on SPY on the 4-hour time frame, also on the daily. I'm going to be watching to see how this reacts. So thus far, if you look at the hourly, we are inside of this channel still. You guys can see this channel where we're basically downtrending and downtrending and downtrending, and we're still kind of stuck here. So we're going to be watching to see if this thing can test 466.5. To be bullish, you want to see it break above 468. So get above 467, then 468 is resistance. 468 is critical. If we can actually get back above this, there's going to be some hope for the bulls. If we fail to get back above 468, especially today, if we kind of reject off this blue trend line, see the blue trend line here, which is our resistance. Once again, going back to the chart, you can just see how this is resistance. Yesterday, we tried to break out of it, but we failed. So today, we're going to be watching to see if this thing can test that. If we reject, so kind of like we touch this and we reject off 466.5, it's going to come all the way back down towards 465. That's going to be one of our supports. We have some support at 466 flat, then there's 465 below that. If we lose that, we're just going to continue to downtrend slowly. And then we have some support around 464, which is very, very minor. The much stronger support that's going to be coming up is 462. We could be making our way down to 462 if we lose 464 especially. So, there is more potential downside for SPY. We're still stuck in this channel. The technicals look bearish, and we're going to be watching to see if this channel continues to cause SPY to drop. So watch that very carefully. We'll see how SPY does, and be very careful once we hit that resistance. Overall, it still favors the bears a bit more, but watch your levels just to be safe. On the QQQ, if you want to be bullish on the QQQ, you want to see this thing break above the white trend line right here, right? You want to see it basically break out of this. I do want to note that on the QQQ, just like that of SPY, we're still looking bearish. We're down over a point in the pre-market, but we have a critical support at 393 at the 4-hour 200 EMA. So this is actually at support, unlike SPY. So we're going to be watching to see if 393 holds. As far as the QQQ goes, we have this 393 level. I basically had this mark right here, this 393 zone. We're going to be watching to see if this holds. I can even redraw this. If that fails to hold, there's going to be 392.5 followed by 390 coming. So the QQQ could get a bigger drop if we lose 393. That's going to be critical support for today. Watch resistance at 395, 396.5. We have a gap up there, not to mention all the way up to 398. Right now, it's just barely kind of fighting this white trend line. You guys can see the white trend line. It's a little hard to see this trend line right here. You guys can see how this is resistance. So it's kind of fighting this right now. It's going to try to break this. We'll see if it can try to break and get back above 396.5. If it does so, it has some bullish potential. But if it fails to do so, if it rejects here, it's going to be sinking back down to 393 to retest our 4-hour 200 EMA, which is going to be at 393 flat. That's going to be a retested. If we lose this, we turn even more bearish, guys. A bigger drop is coming. We're going to get very close to 390. But watch, 393 is the most important level of the day on the QQQ. Watch and see if it could try to hold that or not. As far as Tesla goes, Tesla, in my opinion, not looking the best. We're still on this downtrend. We actually lost this support right here. You guys can see we had this critical support at 237 right here. Now we're just barely holding 236, but we're looking kind of weak. Tesla also has this channel down here. I'm going to actually extend this just a little bit. We're just barely holding above it. So we're going to watch and see if Tesla continues to downtrend right here. We can see Tesla's trying to hold above this channel, but it is slowly downtrending. Tesla has critical support as well coming up, just like the QQQ basically on the, I think it's the 4-hour. Let me just double check. I think it's it's not the 4-hour. I think it's actually the daily. So I was wrong about that. The daily chart of Tesla should be where this is at. Basically, on the daily of Tesla, we're going to be watching the 200 EMA at 234. That's going to be critical support for Tesla. I think Tesla might test that. Looking a little bit weak right here. We're going to be watching this 234 zone. Do we come down and end up getting a balance between 234 to 232? Or does Tesla just continue to sink? Because we have some bearish news that came out involving the big reports. With this bearish news that came out, and we watch to see how Tesla tries to hold. I can even try to adjust this trend line and kind of draw out something else that's different. I want to call out that Tesla, it had some negative news. So make sure you watch this 235 support as critical support. If we lose 235, 234 is our next level because that's going to be our daily 200 EMA on Tesla. If we lose that, expect a much bigger drop very close to 230. That's going to be key for the stock. And for resistance, make sure you watch. I already went over the resistance levels, but we have 237 around that area. 237.25 is resistance. If we break above that, we have 238, 240, and 242, followed by 244 is resistance. Tesla's just barely fighting 236.8 right now, not looking that strong. We had some negative news, so just be careful. It's favoring the bears a bit, and watch that 234 level as critical support because that's where Tesla has the 200 EMA on the daily time frame. 234 is the most important level on Tesla, by the way. Nvda is showing some life. We got this nice channel I called out yesterday. We're still kind of shuffling within this. We're going to likely remain within these bounds unless we break in one direction. Watch 485 is critical resistance. If we break above this, we have potential to push up to 488. For support, make sure you watch this 479 area. If we lose this, we could be looking for a pushback down towards 476, so down here to 474. Otherwise, besides those levels, as long as we're above 480, and below 485, we might just continue to shuffle back and forth within this range. That is likely what Nvda is going to do. Nvda has a potential inverse head and shoulders, or like a cup and a handle trying to form, but we have to see if it can break this resistance. So make sure you watch resistance very carefully. I also want to mention that on Nvda, It's showing some life. It actually held above its 50 EMA, but we have resistance at 483.5 to be watching for. If we break this, we could be looking for 485 to be retested. If that breaks, there's more potential upside coming. Watch these levels very carefully on Nvda. And then last but not least, for Apple stock, the notorious Apple stock, I just want to call out that Apple is kind of flat right now. It's still very, very weak, unfortunately. Uh, we have, and I'm going to call out these levels, support at 181 and then 180. 180 is critical support. If we lose this, we could be coming all the way down to 178. That's going to be our next level. I'm just going to call out the levels on Apple. It's not really doing much. It's kind of stuck right now. But basically, we're going to be watching to see how well it tries to hold these levels. For resistance, make sure you watch 182. If we break that, there's going to be 182.75, 183.5, and then 184.25 coming. As of right now, Apple is shuffling in the 181s, not looking that strong, so watch supply and demand. And if anything, we're going to be watching to see how Apple reacts. It's kind of stuck right now, but it's still looking a little bit weak. It's trying to base at 180, so we'll see if it ends up holding this today or not. But I do want to call out that if we lose 180, like I said earlier, 177.96, which is basically around 178, is where we have critical support on the daily time frame. We might see it actually test 178 and then try to bounce. So we'll just have to see if Apple does drop more. This could slow the market down even more. So just be very careful with this. For now, just watch your levels on Apple. It's kind of just shuffling right now in the 181s. And if we lose 180, watch for 178. All right, guys, that's it for now. Thank you all so much for listening. Make sure you watch the levels I called out, do what you have to do, and you'll see me very soon on the next one. Thank you and peace out.